Shalom, shalom, shalom to the house of Israel. I'm your brother Abaniah, the South Arm of the Great Millstone Camp, Heralds of Yahushai. Coming to you with another lesson in transit to the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. I give all honor, all glory, all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Haruka Dash. All honors to the apostles, prophets, and teachers of Great Millstone, spiritual fathers who rule well, teach well. Peace and salutations to the sincere Akim and Aqua to follow the truth in all diligence and all sincerity. According to the calendar, it's still the 28th of April 2025. And the general elections were held earlier on today, and the results have been tallied, and the parties that contested the various seats, the winners of those seats have been announced. So 2025, we will have another government formed, which will be led by the United National Congress. The PNM, has conceded defeat. And there is widespread celebration among most of the population, those who supported the United National Congress. There are sadness for those who supported the other parties and, didn't see their party coming out on top or coming out victorious. Now, for the past couple of weeks, persons were occupied in a lot of back and forth banter, some listing the accomplishments of the various parties they represent, while simultaneously slinging and pointing out the various failures of their opponents. And in all this hype, all this rhetoric, all this politics, no mention was made of ever serving Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. No mention was made of actually repenting of one's transgressions and turning back to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. I mean, why should they? Why should they? When they don't even have a knowledge of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, they don't even know him. They worship other gods. Believers, we the believers of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, his faithful servants, know that it doesn't matter who sit at the helm leading the country. What matters is that whoever sit bringing the measures necessary very quickly to hasten the return, that would hasten the return, Salakia, of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. This place, Scripture said, this is not our rest. What is being offered on this side is now our rest. And to allow yourself to be caught up in the hype, allow yourself to invest most of your time, if not all, to achieve things on this side, you ain't ready for Yahweh Bashem Yahushai's return. I know regardless of who in power, the agenda of the elites is going to come to pass at the end of the day. We're living in a time where everyone's seeking money, seeking the power of influence to rule over others. And persons not occupied in knowing who Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is, much less what he requires. When you go to Ecclesiastes, if I could get it, pardon me, let me get it for you. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. It says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear power, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. You know, that's our duty. But unfortunately, we have persons seeking the duty of other things. And another reason why we don't get ourselves involved in politics, because we're not supposed to be voting to put any leader over us who is not of Israel, who is not an Israelite. You know? Scripture says, render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and render unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai the things that are Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. You know? This world is disgustingly wicked. You see the women out of order. As the scriptures say, women rule over them. You know? You have women in the various positions of power, and not afraid to use the power and the privilege imparted to them, oppressing the men. Women were not created to rule over men. Yet that's the case. You have men who willingly surrender the nutsack to cater and to pander to these women. You have men who just couldn't care less. And then there are the men who fighting to stand in the role, to exercise the function as men, and the system, you know, fights them down. Does everything in its power to literally castrate them. We live in a society, we are living in a society Mr. Lakia, we are living in a society where the laws and the decrees and the persons that stand behind it basically, both physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, castrate men. Have been removing men as a symbol of strength and authority in the home and in wider society at large. Scripture says, he who seeks to save his life shall lose it, but he who loseth his life for my name's sake and for the gospel's, the same shall find it. Regardless what takes place from this point onward, up until Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai makes his return, let us endeavor to stay faithful, to stay true to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, to walk in obedience, to follow his instructions, to do as he says, to live as he wants us to live. Scripture said in Matthew 6:33, but seek ye first the kingdom of power and his righteousness, and all these things, or all other things, shall be added unto you. For the Lord know we have need of clothes, food, shelter. He knows we need those things. And he has provided for the trees, the grass of the field, the birds of the air, the animals. He provides for their every need. How much more would he provide for your need? When you look overseas, you're seeing, as the scriptures tell us, we shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. You're seeing that. We're seeing France and America has declared war on the president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, using their same old propaganda as a means to get to the resources of that particular country that once made them rich. And you're seeing, as a result of that, other countries are putting in their hat, whether for the support of Burkina Faso or for the support of France and America. So you're easily seeing this conflict can ignite a war. Then you have Israel in recent news promising to bomb all the facilities of Iran, all their nuclear facilities. That as well could ignite a powder keg, thus pushing both countries to war and drawing in their allies into the conflict. Prophecy says that the least of the flock shall draw them out, and we know, according to prophecy, it's going to be a move made by Israel that is going to cause America and her allies to be drawn in conflict with the other nations who are opposed to America and Israel and their allies. And you are seeing the makings for such a conflict taking place on the wider world stage. Now, the Christian church and the other organizations, religious organizations, they are blind, totally blind to prophecy. They pay prophecy no mind. They believe that as long as everybody could get along, everything will be all right. Never mind what prophecy says. Never mind what Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai said he's about to do on the earth. These things don't matter. All they're seeking to do is to hold on to the power that they have enjoyed for all those years, that has made them rich, that have given them that big mansion and those fancy cars and the ability to fly and to own and to fly in private jets. We're going to see so much things taking place on the earth. Crime is at an all-time high. Look, we just had in Guyana unaliving of an 11-year-old girl that has tossed the country into civil unrest. Persons voicing their displeasure and their disdain for the hotel and its management and employees, disdain for the police department that they say covering up and protecting the persons involved in the disappearance and the unaliving of that young lady, Adriana. Persons expressing the disgust at the government for not doing enough. You have the loved ones of little Adriana in grief, crying because of what happened to their loved one. You have citizens at large who sympathize and empathize with the family coming together and engaging in civil unrest as a form of protest. These things are going to become the norm of the day. But toward Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, we, the faithful of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, paying attention to the prophecies, watching it closely. Scripture says, watch and pray. You know, watch for the signs. Just like how you go look for certain signs to know when the season change, when you're going to have rainy season, when you're going to have dry season, because that's what we have in the Caribbean. But if you live in the other parts of the Americas where you have those 4 seasons, you look for specific signs heralding the beginning of said season, as well as the signs indicating the end of the said season. You know, we all look at signs. When you go to the doctor, you complain about an ailment or an illness, the doctor look at signs and symptoms so they can narrow down what truly is your problem. So too, we look at the signs and the prophecies in the scriptures to see the marker about what the Lord told us going to take place on the earth shortly before his return. So Akim and Akwath, we ought to be occupied and have ourselves occupied in prophecy. We got to be praying, we got to be fasting, we got to be reading. And this is inclusive for myself as well. You know? This is inclusive of myself. Let us do what the scriptures say. Fear Yahweh, keep his commandments. For this is our duty. So with that, I pray that this little lesson in transit was edifying through the spirit and through the power of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. I'm your brother Abaniah of the south arm of the Great Millstone Camp, heralds of Yahushai, saying Labakariam, Abad Babal, and see you in the next lesson.